It caused one of the largest mass removals of minority groups in modern history. It segregated education, medical care, neighborhoods, and public services. It deprived people of their citizenships. It was the reason for more than 7,000 lost lives. Apartheid in South Africa. For 46 years, this was the life of minorities in South Africa. Minorities were faced with daily hardships affecting every aspect of life. Organizations, such as the African National Congress, were formed to show their support of apartheid. One individual who became a strong leader in the ANC was Nelson Mandela. Mandela became a symbol of hope for equality in South Africa. Through the years, he became a crucial component in the anti-apartheid movement. Nelson Mandela's leadership in the ANC began with peaceful protests against the South African government and apartheid, eventually leading to the formation of Umkhonto we Sizwe, a branch of the ANC dedicated to armed resistance. After becoming the first Black president of South Africa and receiving the Nobel Peace Prize for championing the downfall of apartheid, Nelson Mandela's leadership established a more integrated society and created a multi-ethnic democracy. During his study of law in 1943 at the University of Witwatersrand Law Facility, Nelson Mandela directly saw the effects of apartheid on the people. This direct impact of apartheid faced by Mandela caused him to become more involved in defiant acts against the government. He attended youth gatherings hosted by the African National Congress, a political group composed of Black nationalists. The main goal of the ANC was to establish and improve voting rights for colored people. By April of 1944, Mandela was an official member of the ANC. As one of his first acts, Mandela successfully co-founded the ANC's Youth League, also known as the ANCYL, and was elected onto its executive committee. The ANCYL later went on to greatly impact the ANC by helping them put into place a military action plan to challenge apartheid. With this plan in place, the goal of the ANC changed from reforming the voting rights of colored people into removal of apartheid altogether. The ANC started to act on this new goal by being strictly dedicated to peaceful protests. In one of their larger protests, the ANC united with the Communist Party of South Africa and the Transvaal Indian Congress. The three parties joined forces and, in a result, 10,000 people came to the Defend Free Speech Convention to protest the banning of communist leaders. Mandela's strong leadership in these protests led to him becoming the president of the ANCYL in 1951. In this same year, Mandela was also able to relaunch the African Community Party, an underground group consisting of ANC members and other communist parties. The next year, in 1952, along with 21 other leaders, Mandela was arrested for his part in the Defiance campaign. He was given a 9-month sentence, joined with a 2-year suspension. Upon release, Mandela continued his fight against apartheid. In 1953, this fight was again interrupted by Mandela and 156 others being arrested and tried for high treason. Because all 157 were acquitted, the trial ended up acting as a catalyst for ANC protests. The Pan-African Congress, a group formed to create policies that favored Black race, jump-started their protesting in 1960, shortly after Mandela was arrested. One of their most famous protests was against the pass laws. Africans were forced to carry around identification at all times. In Sharpeville, 7,000 gathered outside a police station, which resulted in open firing on the protesters, killing 69 and injuring 180. Not only did the Sharpeville massacre result in 69 lost lives, but the South African government declared a state of emergency, which resulted in the ANC and PAC becoming banned organizations. With much consideration, the now underground ANC came to the conclusion that the only way to fully end apartheid would be through violence, such as acts of sabotage and guerrilla war tactics.
At some point, the human condition to live with dignity and a sense of humanity can push folks to use violence.
This armed wing of the ANC was referred to as Umkhonto we Sizwe. In January 1962, Mandela was smuggled out of the country to travel throughout Africa and Europe while studying war tactics and gaining support for the ANC globally. When he returned back in July, Mandela was arrested by the South African government. He was charged with leaving the country without a passport and also inciting strikes globally. In punishment, Mandela received a 5-year sentence. Later, Nelson Mandela was moved to Robben Island from Pretoria. Shortly after the move, police had located a secret hideout in Liliesleaf where the ANC kept weapons and equipment for Umkhonto we Sizwe. From this, Mandela and 10 other ANC members were tried for sabotage at the Rivonia trial. Here is where Mandela delivered his most famous speech from the dock.
It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die.
Despite this pivotal speech for the ANC, Mandela and 7 others were given life imprisonment.
We can't imagine today how horrific it was for people to have to be housed in prisons in South Africa.
While in prison, Mandela was faced with many hardships where they woke up only to greet another day of hard work in a quarry. Prisoners were limited to 1 visitor a year for 30 minutes and 1 letter every 6 months. Being in prison did not stop ANC leaders from trying to communicate with the outside world and help plan protests. The ANC leaders had talked to men with shorter sentences who had more recent information on the movement. This communication was done by writing messages on matchboxes, secret messages in milk, and even hiding notes under the toilet seats. Not only did Mandela show leadership by leading this communication, he was also able to drastically change living conditions at Robben Island with his intelligence and charm. The South African government put Mandela in jail in hopes that the fight against apartheid would end. This ended up resulting in the reverse effect for the government. Emotions were raised and the number of protests increased exponentially. While Mandela was in prison, de Klerk came into office. He saw that the protests were now affecting the country's economy and realized he must meet with Mandela and discuss a new South Africa.
The overwhelming majority of all the people, whether they black, white, colored or Indian, will welcome this because this is a step towards a peaceful new South Africa.
He started this change by unbanning the ANC and all affiliated organizations. This received many controversial reactions, but de Klerk knew that this change was essential for South Africa. February 11, 1990, de Klerk did something the world had been waiting to see for 27 years, the releasement of Nelson Mandela from prison.
We must not allow fear to stand in our way.
Mandela negotiated with de Klerk how to end apartheid peacefully. In 1994, Mandela won the first election by universal suffrage for the first time and became president. A new democratic constitution was created, and South Africa began to integrate into a multi-ethnic democracy. From then on, the government became a 3-tier system on a local, provincial, and national level with an independent judiciary. Parties are now represented proportionally to how many people are in the country, and those who are 18 years or older have the opportunity to vote for national legislature and local councils every 5 years. Nelson Mandela left a completely new government in place, with a legacy for many generations to come to see. He was able to alter unemployment rates, overall equality, and even living conditions.
In the name of peace, democracy, and freedom for all.
Not only did Nelson Mandela become president and drastically modify the South African government, he was co-awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his work alongside de Klerk in 1993 for their work for the peaceful termination of the apartheid regime and for laying the foundations for a new democratic South Africa. Though Mandela did not seek a second term as president, he still remained a strong advocate for peace and the end of social injustice. He was able to do much of this through his work through the Nelson Mandela Foundation, founded in 1999. Nelson Mandela led the revolution against a political party that oppressed Africans for more than 46 years. He was able to not only take the oppression they faced and bring it to international attention, but also lead an armed wing of the ANC and use violence to change this global issue. Mandela's leadership in the ANC initiated a change in South Africa, leaving him the legacy of a more integrated society. He led a fight that changed the lives of many South Africans, one that remains unimaginable for many of us, into something that will continue to impact the future generations of not only South Africa, but the entire world.
He will be placed next to all of the great leaders of the world.